Hey guys, this is Aaron coming at you with a video about buying or selling your business. So, a lot of guys sometimes have tried to figure out the equations behind this and the secrets behind it, so I'm going to walk you through. It's not that complicated. Buying, selling your business. So, how's this work? Well, if you have a shop, and let's say you're wanting to buy, well, no, let's say sell. We'll do the sales size first. We'll do sale over here. We'll do buy over here. All right. So if I was going to sell or I was going to buy, I need to understand the strategy going in. The best deal whenever you're selling is to sell if you own real estate and business separately. You never want to sell together. Real estate and business separately. Now, what does that look like in the big picture? So, if I'm going to go sell this thing and I'm going to try to do something separately, I want you to just understand what this means. This means that I am lowering my risk by separating the two, by spreading it out. So there's some basic rules here. Auto repair always goes off of a multiple of net profit. Now you might be able to add in some things, and I will tell you, I have seen some unsophisticated sellers try to add back in their entire wage, and they might be the manager, so they could be paying themselves $100,000 a year. The business makes $200. They try to go sell it with a wage of $300 on a multiple. Or a profit of $300 on a multiple. It doesn't work. An investor, you might find somebody dumb enough to pay it, but an investor is going to put a manager in that store. They don't want to come do the job. And then they're going to get that $200K back. So I want you to see something. This multiple of net profit, very, very interesting. I want to make sure, I'm going to switch to blue, that when I go to sell my business, I want to get the highest multiple possible. Well, what I have seen in a single store operation, and I will say I've seen it up to 3 locations, so we'll go 1 to 3. So we got single store, and then I will go over here multi. And really, multi could go 3, I'll just put to 10. It could go honestly up to whatever, but we'll just do 3 to 10. And I do the third because the third could be a dud, so we're going to go both ways. I see a lot of guys with 2 strong ones and 1 third one that's not working out. So what I want to show you here is on these multiples, if a store has a revenue stream with a net profit of, we'll say the net is X, we're going to multiply that times 1 equals your sales price. And that sales price, all of these scenarios are going to be plus equipment, plus blue sky. So, this net times 1 equals sales price, or net times 2 equals sales price, or net times 3 equals sales price, is determined by a couple key things. So let's go, I'm going to switch to black. On the times 1 to get you a sales price, that is the owner is extremely needed. All right? We have no systems, so we're going to leave that blank. So I'll do, let me do this, systems. So the owner's very needed, we have no systems, and on top of that, we're not organized. So I'm going to put here no and no above it. And then yes for the owner. So at this stage, this particular shop, the owner's very needed. There are no systems in place, and it's not organized at all. Now, to get a times 2 multiple. Well, on this one, we'll say we've got some systems. So we'll say, and I wrote this too far down, but we'll just go ahead and carry this down. We'll say the owner is needed, yes. And we'll say, yeah, he's got some systems. And we'll say yes to some organization. So he's now got things going in the right direction, but he's still very needed. If he's not there, the wheels come off the bus. And in this setup, this is the ultimate setup, the owner himself or herself is not needed. So we have no next to owner. Then we're going to have yes to great systems. And we're going to say yes to very organized. And the thing we're missing here on all of these that I didn't get to write because I just don't have room is it decently branded? So I'll put branded. So is this store branded well? Yes. Is this store branded well? It's decent. Is this one branded well? No. So you can see the flow. For a net 1 multiple, you're going to have a store that's really screwed up with an owner that's very needed. No branding, no systems, no organization. For you to get to a multiple of 2, you want some decent systems, decent organization, decently branded, and the owner is still very needed. He holds everything together, or she. And then if you want a net times 3, you're going to have it very well branded, very well organized, and on top of that, the owner cannot be needed at all. It needs to be able to run on its own from a beach, etc. And you got to have some awesome systems. All of this is plus equipment. Your equipment, I am seeing anything from 25 cents to 50 cents on the dollar. So somewhere in that range, no matter how old it is. I have seen some that have gone all the way to 100 to 1-to-1, but I didn't see any blue sky. I've seen blue skies anywhere from 25K all the way up to 100 grand. Blue sky is what is the potential the business can do. So you may go, I want more money for my shop because I just hired this A-Tech. He just got here. He's going to change everything. He's only been here 2 weeks. You can see it in the 2 weeks numbers, but I don't have a tax return to back it up. So that would be me giving you credit for something I know is in the business, but there's no tax return documentation to back it up. Now when you go to sell it, you got to be able to back this crap up. You can't have 200 grand a year cash coming out. What does that mean, Aaron? So I've had shop owners that take bonuses of cash when they need it, pull it out of the business, then when their tax return says they only made 150 instead of 300, they want to get paid on the whole 300. That's not going to happen. You're only going to get paid. A bank's only going to lend someone else money off of what you can prove the business is bringing in. Now, you might be able to go to a multiple of 4 and get the equipment for free and get all the blue sky for free. You have to see that this guy may have hired somebody amazing, may have some new equipment, but they may want a higher multiple for whatever reason. I don't care how you configure it, but this is the theme I'm seeing. On multi-store over here, I'm seeing some crazy crap. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. We have seen some shop owners on the multi-store side get as high as times 8 and times 10. I haven't seen a times 10. I saw like a 9.5, but it's right up there. So this multiple here would be, you have to have all these boxes checked, and you're much larger. And I would tell you at probably 3 to 4 stores, the multiple won't be as high. The more real estate, the more market you control, the higher the multiple. But towards the higher end, you're going to start seeing times 8, times 9, and like I said, even times 9.5. I have personally not seen a 10. I'm sure there's one out there. I've not seen it. And all the way also down to times 5, times 6, times 7. It's all in the negotiations. Much higher numbers when you're at multi-store. Now, the difference is you could have one store printing money, or you could have multiple stores not making as much. A lot of guys made more money when they had one than when they made 2, 3, 4. The only reason I was able to do well there was I had just really, really good systems. I didn't go into it planning to open a second store. It happened as a result of me having a lawsuit with a bank, which I've told that story over and over, back in 2008 when the market crashed. So That's how I ended up there, but my systems are what saved me. Now, you have to see, what are you really selling? You're not selling a location. They're looking at a location, but you're selling your most valuable asset, which is your people. The teams you've built, along with their systems and their locations. A lot of us like to focus and say that we're only selling the location. That's not it. Why are they giving you so much more money for all these other things? The systems and the people. The people are the brand. The way they behave are the brand. That's the organization side of it. The system is the step-by-step process we follow. The location is the lease or the location you own. So I want you to stop and think about, you think it may only be this. If you don't have these two dialed in, you're not going to get this. Get these two dialed in. These are all forms of capital. And a lot of us don't have enough people capital in our business. That's the most valuable thing you can have. That's for another call, though, or another lesson. So now, let's say if you're selling this business and something happens to you, and you go and you sell it, or your spouse sells it, and they sell the business and the real estate together. Now what ends up happening when they go to sell the two together is someone can come in a fire sale and get a discount because your family has to pay taxes on the value of this business and on the value of this real estate that you owned. So you got to make sure you get with your attorney and your accountant and have all this stuff set up beforehand. But as you start to age out, you hit late 50s, 60s, 70s, and you still own your real estate and you don't have family inheriting it, or you're not charging your business enough rent, I would encourage you to look at selling your real estate and then doing a lease back. Lease back. That way you don't leave your spouse. Let's say you're in your 70s, property's paid for, you're doing $150,000 a month, you're charging yourself only $8,000 a month rent, which is way too low. You could go charge yourself $10,000, $12,000 a month rent, sign a lease back to yourself with a cap rate of currently right now high 7s. It's going to go up though because interest rates are going up, which will drop the property value, but you could sell it, collect $1.75 million, $2 million, whatever it comes out to, turn around, hand that check to your spouse, invest that in stocks and other forms of real estate that aren't dependent on you and your skill set, and then get things rocking in the right direction. Because if you are the patriarch of your business or the matriarch of your business, and it all depends on you, and even if it's somewhat organized, if any would-be buyers would come in and still see you as the central piece, they will devalue the real estate because you're now dead. And they'll say that to your spouse. They'll say, well, if Bob was still alive, we could give you all this money, but we don't know how good the business is going to do without Bob. And that's the problem. You've got to sell the real estate while Bob is alive. So if you have a son or a daughter inheriting it, that's different. But if you don't wait until the both got to be sold together. The business actually makes the real estate worth more money, so sell it now and then sell the business later. You always want to sell it first. You don't want to sell this first and then just own this. A lot of guys, they think that. I'll just collect rent and they go sell this. What they don't understand is when you don't control this, you can sell this for an inflated amount, which you could then, through a cap rate, turn around over here and buy a different piece of real estate and some stocks and some other things and not be all in just one thing. That's the piece you got to see. Not telling you necessarily to diversify, but if you have a building that's worth over $1 million and it's 80% of your net worth and it's paid for, you need to take some of that money off the table and go put it in some other things so that if something happens and this tenant moves out and doesn't pay the bills, your spouse isn't stuck after you're long gone with a piece of real estate and no rent coming in. And all of a sudden needs money badly for a medical issue and you're not there anymore and they have to sell the real estate in a fire sale. You don't want that. Sell it at its top, at its peak. Don't be in love with it. That's another lesson for another day. But you can see how this multiple works. Now, let's say we're buying. Well, if I'm buying, I'm on the other side, now I'm the shark, right? So when I go to buy, do I want to buy the business and the real estate? Do I want to buy these two together or separate? You want to buy them together because that's how you get the real estate cheaper and the business cheaper. Sometimes you can only buy the real estate and get them to throw the business in with the equipment for free by just not negotiating on the real estate. And they think they're smoking you and getting a great deal, when in reality, you're the one getting the great deal. Now, when you go in, your multiple, some guy's going to tell you, well, Aaron, I want $2 million for it. Well, how'd you come up to that number? Well, just figure that's what I got to have to retire. You know, taxes and everything, I ain't going to make, but $1,400,000 on it, got to pay my building off, oh, 800, I'm only going to have 600 grand left. Well, a couple scenarios here. You could buy the business for free and just sign a lease that's exaggerating what he's paying. So he might only be paying himself $500 a month profit on the lease right now. You could run a bigger operation out of his building. You could go in there and pay him a little bit for the business, mark the lease up, or nothing for the business and mark the lease up. Or you could buy it and include it all, but you have to ask this guy, how did you get to that number? Obviously, if he understood this and he's only making $75K a year after he pays himself, if he's making 75 grand a year, he needs to go follow this formula. Well, he's not following it. He read something about some technology company, and this technology company sold for some ridiculous multiple off of their gross revenue, and that's how he's coming up with this number. You have to make sure you educate your guy and talk to him that auto repair runs on a 1 to, well, I screwed that up, 1 to 3 multiple, and that, you know, technology might run on a 8 to 25 time multiple, or it might run on a 4 to 5 time revenue multiple. You don't know. And then healthcare, you know, might run on a 15 time multiple. But I wrote Heath, health. But we are not any of these other businesses. We are auto repair. So he has to stay in this vein. So you're going to come back to him on the buy side, and you're going to go look at this business, and you're going to say, you know, what are you thinking? And when he gives you a number, you're just going to go, okay, I get it. That makes sense. Understand. How'd you come up with that number? He's going to tell you, I've read it somewhere, blah, 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 or that's what I got to have. Okay. Let me think about it. Yeah, let me just think about it. I'm going to go do some research and see how businesses like auto repair shops are valued. Now, he may think that's what I got to have, and if I can't get it, I'll just sit on it. But eventually he has to sell. He doesn't have a choice. So go take him to lunch, take him to dinner, drag this out. I mean, I've kicked the tires on a store for a year. Just drag it out. You may not be ready right now. Drag it out. Just keep becoming this guy's friend. Eventually, he starts dreaming about getting out, getting in his RV, doing whatever he needs. And at the end of the day, if you just got to go to this guy and pay him, you know, he wants this much for the business and the real estate. If he just needs 600 grand just for the business, you might be able to find a way to go, look, I'll pay you a little bit over 10 years to go towards that 600. You're not going to have to pay all those taxes. And I'll pay you appraisal for the property. And plus I'll, you know, pay a little bit extra for equipment, XYZ, you know, whatever. But you find a way to bracket this out in a way that it gets him what he wants, which is, he says he wants 600 grand. Why does he want it? Because he's just going to invest in it. He's going to take 10%, which is 60K a year, and live off of it. So how can I get him 60 grand a year for the right years and it not affect me and this whole thing work out? So there's a way to structure this. There's a way to do it. And get your accountant and your attorney involved. Find a way to get him what he needs so you can get what you need, and you can get this pulled off. But when you buy, you want to buy together. When you sell, you want to sell apart. But you have to follow this rule of multiples. Don't bring up this multiple rule in the first meeting or in the first handshake. You'll just offend him. You've got to be a friend. You got to get relational capacity. You got to get inside and understand the inner workings of his business and make sure that he understands what's going on. And then when you finally feel like you have enough relationship, maybe you show him your existing store and how well it's doing and saying, I can only sell it for X. You know, not 9, but, you know, one, you know, maybe it's a 3. I can only get, if your store's making 200K, 600 grand from my store, and I'm making 200 grand a year plus a little bit of equipment. You know, I can't get to this. I'm not sure who you're going to get to do that. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do, man. And there's ways you can negotiate. I'm not going to get into that on this, but I want you to make sure you understand that just because they tell you some ridiculous number in the beginning doesn't mean the deal's off the table. They're just trying to see what you're going to do. They're throwing out their dream. And you don't want to crush his dream overnight. You want him to crush his dream. And it's going to be very slow. They'll slowly get there. But you got to take your time. Don't race in. You taking your time could save yourself $500,000. Don't race in. You must follow this formula. This has been around for years and years, and people get this, I don't know, they get it complicated and confusing. They try to add in all their pay. You can't do all that. And business brokers will do this as a way to inflate the price to show you their value, only to have it negotiated away, and then you still end up paying the broker $80,000 a year or $80,000 to sell your business. So be very careful. There's some good brokers out there, but be very careful that you're not giving your store just to a broker for him to mark up, for him then to turn around and resell at the wrong number. There's a lot of ways you can just through the grapevine get a business sold, through a lot of trade associations and through a lot of owners that are maybe in your area that you could just connect with without even having to talk to anybody, and just get your attorney or accountant involved. All right, guys, I hope this help you understand how to sell and how to buy an auto repair shop a little bit better than what it did before. All right, I'll see you in the next video.